What's up, everyone, and welcome to the stream scene. We have a special episode today in anticipation of the GameHERs Awards 2021, and we're really excited for an awesome panel revolving around Twitch and how it's changed over the years and where it is today. So I'd love to bring in my lovely, awesome, fantastic co-host, TheHunterWild. Hunter, how you doing today?
I'm really stoked for this particular conversation with these incredible human beings. And I'm very good. I'm very good, very happy, very thrilled to be here. Let's jump right into some introductions beyond myself and Lowco. Nikatine and Raven, hello, good day. Thanks for joining us for this, frankly, very vital conversation that we're about to have. If y'all wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, who you are, what you do around all of the internet, if you so please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Nikatine. I'm a role player and a Twitch ambassador at twitch.tv/Nikatine, Nikatine. I founded Transmission Gaming, which is a huge community for trans people online. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. My pronouns are she, her.
And hi, I am Raven. I am an activist and content creator, and I recently got partnered on Twitch.
Awesome.
I have garnered a lot of attention behind the Twitch Do Better movement. So some people may know what that is. And for the most part, I talk about a lot of issues surrounding racial inequality, politics, mental health, LGBTQIA2+ issues, and human rights overall. We also play a lot of horror games, so y'all can find me anywhere at RekItRaven.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, so today's show, we're going to be talking about three main subjects: community, sponsorships, and safety, and basically how your experience has changed from when you started streaming to today. And remember, if you are watching this, make sure to vote for your favorite content creators and gamers in various categories for the GameHERs Awards on www.thegamehers.com. That is www.thegamehers.com. Make sure to vote for your favorite creators in this year's awards. So let's get started by talking about community. What has changed for you personally regarding the way that you build your community?
So I want to just start off by saying that hate raids are a big problem on Twitch, but they've been a big problem on Twitch for a very long time. It hasn't just started. Because when I started on Twitch in 2016, we were still, I've been getting hate raids since I started. And over the course of time, I've had to adjust how I communicate to my audience, namely through turning off. So if you're not familiar with Twitch chat, you can chat with streamers, but there are certain ways that streamers can sort of decide who gets to chat. My biggest one is making sure people are following before they can chat, so that if anybody tries to bot raid me, they have to have their bots all follow me too, which is one extra step. It's not impossible. They do it all the time, but it's another step that they have to go through. And I have a lot of steps like that. We can put our chat in emote only mode or in follower for 10 minutes. You have to follow for 10 minutes first or an hour or whatever. So the more steps that you introduce, typically the harder it is, the more likely they are to just give up. And so that's been my strategy for years. And I've just committed to it during this whole fiasco.
Yeah.
And has that affected new people coming in and joining your community?
Absolutely. I mean, whenever you go to a new Twitch chat, it's always fun to just be able to chat to the streamer. But in my chat, people are unable to do so unless they follow me first. I get a lot of trolls. My mods ban several people a day. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that all these trolls have to give me a follow first. But it does prevent new innocent viewers from just saying hi, which is frustrating for me as a creator.
I assume that the advantage to taking those steps and taking that approach outweighs that kind of hindrance.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's not just me, right? It's not just my own personal feelings. I'm pretty tough. I'm a streamer. I take a lot of abuse, but I don't want my mods to have to see all this stuff all the time. They didn't ask for that. So it's really not about me. It's about my community, and it's about my moderation team, and it's about the people around me that I want to make sure are safe and like not exposed to this awful vitriol all the time.
Mm-hmm. Raven, what about you? What's your experience been like, trying to build a community on Twitch nowadays?
I started on the platform in late 2015 as well. So, just to kind of echo Nikatine's statements, like hate raids have never been a new commodity, if you will. So I can say that I too have to put additional protections in place. And the return on investment or, being able to get that follow doesn't always pan out, especially because, a lot of people who are new to the Twitch scene or are new to community building on the platform may not really understand what following is about. Like a lot of the times, like I personally like to go in and, really see what the person's about. Like, are they responsive to me? Do we relate on some form of level? And then that's when I'm like, oh, okay, I'll follow you. It's a little bit harder. I will say that at least the communities that I've seen have been more understanding, but that doesn't make it more of a hassle for those good people to come hang out and just like vibe with, some of their favorite content creators.
Right. Well, so both of y'all sound like you've been on Twitch for about the same amount of time. How over the years, how have your communities changed? How have they morphed and reshaped themselves, bringing new features and qualities and components to the fore, or sort of maintaining the same sort of vibe throughout that time?
Yeah, especially as you guys have grown, right?
Right.
I actually have a big thing for this. When I started on Twitch, they were just introducing a thing that Twitch called communities. It was a Twitch product. It was basically a tags system, user-generated tags. And anybody could create a tag, and then you could just tag your stream with whatever you wanted. And it was awesome. It was like the golden age of being able to find people on Twitch because anybody could tag their stream with whatever. And that meant Transmission Gaming could have a tag. It meant people could have a tag in general, several tags if they wanted. And so it was a great way to like introduce yourself or to find other people who are like also, a part of your community. Twitch expanded the communities product a little bit later on so that they had, I think you could tag up to like 3 different communities on your Twitch stream. And then they just unceremoniously cut it. And then they replaced it with the current tag system, which for the last several years hasn't included, minority tags in it. And it was impossible for minorities to find each other. So we've had to jury rig all of these like new and different ways off platform to find each other. And that has shaped a lot of our interaction with Twitch as a platform. Like it's made, I feel like it's made some people hostile online to Twitch. It's made people a little bit scared that, now that we have tags, that they're going to just take them away. It's made people a little bit anxious and a little bit less, willing to introduce themselves and form like new communities. So it's changed quite a bit. And I think it's still up in the air as to, what's going to change next.
Yeah, I agree. I think tags are an important part of, being able to find people you identify with. I think in this vast ocean of the internet, in this little dark corner that I have, I want people to be able to find me under a non-binary tag because, they may be going through something by themselves and maybe they just stumbled upon me and I can help them out in some way. I think community building now is harder, but it's more genuine. Because I know when I first started, a lot of like the community was very shallow. So after a couple of years of doing it wrong, I finally started to really settle into who I am as a person, what I really want, stop giving into these unfair expectations that other people put on me. And as soon as I really started to be who I am, is when I really started to be able to foster a community of people who are inclusive and diverse and able to have hard conversations. And I do think that tags are really, really important because these are my identities. These are my identifiable markers. And I shouldn't feel shamed for that.
Absolutely.
And nobody else should either.
Yeah. And so, the tag system recently got a huge update a couple months ago with the addition of the trans tag and a huge amount of other identity-based tags. How has that changed for you guys? Did you notice increased discoverability? Did you notice increased harassment? How has added identity-based tags changed your stream?
I get harassment no matter what I do on Twitch. And there's no tag on earth that will make my harassment go up or down. It's always going to be there, no matter what tag I use. So my harassment has stayed the same. Or if it has increased, it's not because of the tags. In fact, the only thing that's happened because of tags is like people have been able to find me, and I've been able to, reach out and interact with people who otherwise would never have been able to find me before. I feel like most people don't quite appreciate just like how important it can be for a disaffected minority community to be able to find other people like them. Like, this is vital stuff we're talking about. It's incredibly important for minorities to be able to find each other and link up and form little communities. And that outweighs whatever Twitch might think about, harassment from it, because the harassment isn't because of tags at all. They're not to do with each other one bit.
Tags don't cause harassment. People are out there committing themselves to that regardless of tags.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they've done it long before tags were a thing to me. They'll do it long after tags are a thing to me. Like, it has nothing to do with tags.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. I think it made it easier for people to just find people if they want to harass them, but I don't think tags are the root cause of harassment, right? It takes a very heinous person to want to really bring somebody down. I will say, again, I can't really hide the fact that I'm Black. All right, that is not indicative of a tag. That was always going to be there. That is my marker. That is going to follow me throughout my life. Whether or not there's a tag for it on Twitch doesn't mean that I'm not going to be called out of my name for my skin color. And I think that the notion that tags are the root cause for this is very silly. Because it's not. People will always make it a point to attack somebody for existing, especially if it doesn't align with their twisted views of how things should be. So I still love tags. I still love that I'm able to find Black trans folk and be able to support them. I like that I have a system in which I can literally narrow it down to a Black trans person with ADHD. I love that. And I think it is so important to be able to do that because you, at that point, by using those tags, are finding your tribe. And that's really important.
Yep. And that's what I'm hearing from both of you, I think, is this particular quality, and correct me if I'm wrong, of course, that while harassers are capable of finding their potential targets by virtue of the tags, so are the countless of other wholesome, respectful, beautiful, and brilliant people who want to find their people, the people with whom they're going to resonate. And so it's like both of these things at once, but one of them probably outweighs the other. And it's, to me, that in my thinking, it's the good one.
And let's be clear, those people who are going to harass us will find us regardless.
Exactly, right.
They don't need tags to find us, but our minority communities do.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So undoubtedly the tags, adding those identity-based tags, have been helpful for building your communities. Do you wish that there were more features on Twitch to help, maybe bringing back that community feature that Nikatine was talking about? Is there something in your mind that would help towards community building?
Absolutely. First of all, I think enabling 2FA for chatters would be an outstanding way to mitigate much of the hate. If a streamer could just turn on, only allow people who have 2FA enabled to chat, it would be ideal. Twitch streamers being able to share block lists or banned lists with each other is a huge ask. I know that it's probably difficult to code, but it would be an outstanding way to mitigate harassment within minority communities, because we all talk to each other.
Yeah.
We all know like who's being horrible. And if we can share those lists, those banned chatter lists with each other, then, there are places on Twitter where you can just, share banned lists with each other. I don't know why we can't do the same with Twitch.
So is it sort of like a subscribe to a list? Like here's one person who always bans the right people. I want to subscribe to their list of banned people.
How I imagine it is something like that. Or like we have teams that we hardly ever use on Switch. Like, why not just have like a team block list,
Interesting.
So I think stuff like that would be a boon to being able to moderate and keep away like some pretty bad actors.
I think that's a great idea. Honestly, I should have thought about that, and I never did.
Or one more thing, being able to set up a system where people can only chat in your chat if they've had an account from longer than a certain period of time.
Yes.
Because almost all of the bots are like instantly created. So if we could just set up like you have to have been on Twitch for a day to chat here, like that would mitigate a lot of it too.
Yeah. And I think at that point that gives a lot of control and power back to the creator themselves, right? Because at that point they can put a gate on their channel, their place of business.
Exactly.
For a period of time that feels comfortable for them. And from a business standpoint, it's a good look for Twitch, because since it's so customizable, they can literally just say, hey, we gave you the tool. It is literally up to the creator.
It's greater ownership on our side, which is really good.
Exactly. So I don't see a downside to that. I know tools take time to build and make sure that it doesn't break everything. Totally understand that. I'm quasi-patient. If I'm honest, but it would help so much. And another thing that I think would help in terms of community building is we don't actually talk about rating a lot, but rating is a great way to reach out, extend a hand, almost offer like an olive branch to somebody and say, hey, I see you. I trust you with my community that I have fostered and grown, and I love these people. I want you to love them too. It's almost like a business handshake, right? It is in that discoverability umbrella. It's under that growth umbrella. I think it's really important to be able to do those things. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who raid maliciously. So why is there not a tool built into the API in ModView where you can see who's raiding in before they actually raid in, and you can approve or deny it?
That would be fantastic. That's an amazing idea.
And then in the dashboard, you can see like if this person has been banned. You may not get a list of channels because I get privacy, but you can see if this person has been banned multiple times in multiple channels before. So you can really weed out, if this person is somebody that you want in the community. I think it's important to really just give tools back to the creators that are proactive and not reactive.
Yes.
That allow you to control the amount of growth without really limiting it, because the tools we do have limit growth. As we were talking earlier, the follower only mode. Yeah, we have to do that right now. But it is such a pain in the butt to have to do and try to explain to people when people are following. And you're like, hey, just so you know, it's going to be 10 minutes. Hope you hang out. Love you. Mean it. It's so debilitating sometimes. And I think that there are ways to be proactive about community building that is helpful for our fellow creators.
Absolutely. I love that raid approval idea. Like, I think that would help a ton. So I love that. Thank you, Raven.
Raid mutuals too. Raid mutuals would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Being able to raid people who are just mutually, like, you follow each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Turning off like unknown raids or something, I feel like that can't be that hard,
Well, so the thing with that is that we have stuff like where it's like no raids, or you can raid or be raided by, friends, people you follow, and teammates. And like that's good. And like we're at a point now, at least in my chat, where people will come in and be like, hey, I'm about to like wrap up my stream. Can I raid you? And I'm like, yeah, like let me drop you a quick follow. And I like that. But unfortunately, I don't want people to have to feel like they need my permission to try to do something nice for me. Like it kind of just ruins it for me personally, right? Like I can't speak on anybody else's behalf. So I just think it's important to really allow creators to have the power to control what happens in their chat a little bit better. We're never going to get rid of hate raids 100% because we can't get rid of hate. We can speak out about it, but we can ultimately make it harder for these people to do these things.
And importantly, we can cultivate a space on this platform that is more accepting and tolerant and just more open without, without subjecting ourselves necessarily entirely to all like the shutdown idea,
Yeah, absolutely. So as streamers, you're also a community leader, and we've talked about community building, but what does it mean to you to be a community leader? What does that responsibility entail?
When I was a kid, I knew that I was trans, but I couldn't, it was like before really YouTube was a thing, way before Twitch. And there just really wasn't a whole lot of like trans people in my life that I could really look up to and be like, oh, it's going to be okay. there was Jerry Springer, and then that was kind of it. And so now as an adult, my goal with Twitch, with any online platform, has really sort of been be somebody who kid me would have really looked up to and wanted to just have in their life to say like, it's going to be okay. So it's really, drove all of my decision making on the platform, and anything I can do in service of that is a success for me.
Yeah, I like that. That's really powerful, honestly.
Yeah,
it really is. I will say for me, like community leading is being the change in the world that I want to see. And if I am going to do that, then I have to lead by example. That means when I'm called out because I'm wrong, accepting that I'm wrong and taking an inward look and learning live sometimes. I don't always do everything right. I don't pretend to be perfect. I am human. And to be human is to err, if you will. And I think people need to understand that that's okay. I think as a community leader, it is my job to really be as patient and as graceful with people who are trying to learn, but also, demonstrating that I am not going to take any mess. Like if you come into my house with your dirty shoes and try to wipe them all over my carpet, I'm going to clap back. There's a fine line. So I just want to be, the change I want to see. And I have 2 children. Right? That for me is the game changer and always will be. They are white presenting people of color. And they have to see me in the news right now. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get really emotional. And my son frequently asks me if the police are going to come kill me because of all of this. So as a community leader, it is my job to change that because he doesn't deserve that. I'm grown, I'm grown. I can handle myself. But I know that there are so many people like me who are in a position where we're having to teach our marginalized children how to prepare for the world. And I'm trying to teach out that this shouldn't be a thing and that we do have the power to change it. I'm sorry, I got really emotional. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
It's completely okay.
It's a pretty important conversation.
Absolutely. And it's an important responsibility,
Yeah.
to want to look after your children and the future. And, there's so many people that look up to you. There's so many people in your community that look up to you. And, I think as streamers, as entertainers, we can forget that there's more to it than just, putting on a nice face and smiling. Like, with building a community the way that you all have, it's empowering and it's personal. It's you. And I think that's what makes streaming so special, is the way that the communities are built around you and your identity and everyone else who supports you and is a part of that and looks up to you. There's so much responsibility that comes with that. And I think it's an honor, but it's also it can be tough. It can be a lot of weight.
Yeah, it can be very isolating, and I've learned that over the course of the last couple months. I wouldn't change anything because, again, I'm an activist first. I believe in human rights. I believe that people should be able to be exactly who they are without fear of persecution or death. And I know that that is my legacy. That is what I'm going to leave behind. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it on a platform that allows it, honestly, because there are so many platforms that wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I think overall, like, these are the kinds of important discussions that we need to have, because I don't know about any of you, but I know growing up, I wasn't allowed to talk about these things. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's roll into talking more about safety on the platform, as a really big topic right now with hate raids. We got into that a little bit earlier. Do you feel safer now on the platform compared to when you started streaming on Twitch?
Safe is relative. I feel as though streaming for me has always opened me up to some level of harassment. I didn't start this platform from a position thinking that I was perfectly safe and that everything was fine. And I'm still not on a position where I think everything is safe and perfectly fine. But like we were talking about before, I feel like my duty to my community really outweighs my my reticence to to have this vitriol kind of thrown at me. So I honestly, I'll do it regardless. Like, I'll still be a streamer no matter how much hate I receive, and there's nothing really that's going to change that. So I don't feel as though I'm any safer or unsafe now than I did when I started, but I know that I'm not gonna back down.
I will say, maybe because I was younger and naive, I thought I was untouchable. I think we all kind of go through that. I definitely don't feel safe. I've had personal information thrown out about me in a multitude of chats on Twitch. I've had, there's unfortunately a lot that I can't say, but I've been threatened, harassed, like, it has left the platform for me. But I don't think that a lot of people who do partake in these acts understand that as a marginalized person, like, we have been subject to this our whole life. Right? You're not doing anything that other people have not done in my life to my face. I don't think that I will ever feel safe anywhere, Twitch or otherwise, until actual equality is the norm. But kind of like Nikatine said, I am stubborn. I am so stubborn. Y'all are not getting rid of me that easy. And that's on period. That is what it is.
Yeah. Are there anything that you guys do to help keep your community safe? Especially with how things are right now, you know, are there any changes that you've made to better protect your community?
Absolutely. So I employ a lot of mods on my channel. There's just a ton of mods. Everywhere you look, there's mods, and they're all very trustworthy, and almost all of them are trans. So one of the things about being trans on the internet is that you get a sense really quickly of like who's asking questions in good faith and who's asking questions to be an a-hole. And I feel like trans people who are moderators on my chat are very good at identifying who's acting in good faith and who's just being a troll. So there's a lot of mods on my chat, and they're all hungry.
I do. I like that. I like that. I had to up my mod team as well. Most of my mods are just as gay as I am, or, you know, marginalized in some way, shape, or form. I think I have maybe 2 who are like cis white dudes, but have been very vocal allies. So they're really good about it. And I really wish I could pay them more, right? Like every so often I'll be like, oh, hey, here's a Steam card. Like, I love you. Thank you. But it does take a toll on them. The other thing is that, you know, outside of like locking down channels and things like that, follower only mode, there are 2 bots that I use that are really good at, kind of just shutting it down. Because last night I had streamed. It was my first partner stream, and I was so excited. And of course, naturally, because I have become one of the major opposing forces on these people, they decided that they were just going to start to try to flood my chat with like hateful rhetoric, start following me with, you know, with accounts that contain my personal information. And as soon as it started, like the bots literally like deleted the messages and then started banning people. And then my mods were able to kind of pick up the slack and start banning the people who kind of pass through the filter. So that has helped them out a lot. And the 2 bots that I'm using is SeryBot, so SERY_bot. And that you can find that account on Twitch. And then there's the Stop Hate and Harassment bot. That you can customize. FossaBot is a good one as well, but FossaBot I find is not nearly as user friendly. So we were using that, and unfortunately, one of my mods ended up banning about like 12 people on accident. So we're like, you know what?
Oh, no.
Maybe not this one, but yeah, there are definitely things that we have had to up in terms of safety.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about any third-party tools that you utilize for safety, and that certainly takes care of some of that answer. Yeah.
Commander Root is a good one as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So Commander Root, I utilize all the time, honestly, and I hate that I'm here because I shouldn't be. But every day, like I wake up and I have to go to Commander Root and go to their block tool and make sure that I'm up to date with all the known bot accounts. And about every other day, there's at least like 500,000 new bots that are known that I get to block. It's a lot.
Crazy. That's ridiculous.
It's a lot.
Geez. Are there any other tools to help with, you know, everything that's going on right now to help be safe and secure while you're streaming?
I definitely employ like a lot of chatbots. I have like several different chatbots that are just
perform like slightly different functions.
Yeah. Or they perform the same but function for redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in case one of them goes down or it freaks out because there's too many people in chat, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, like we have to at this point.
Yeah.
Because I can't sit here and get ready to go live without expecting to be hate rated at some point.
Yeah. And so then I assume that having the tools on hand and already just completely ready to go gives you that at least a little bit of extra sense of security, in addition to providing a really practical effect while you're streaming. You get that you don't necessarily walk into a stream with the same level of anxiety as if you had none of these tools available.
Exactly. So last night it was kind of funny because anybody who knows me knows that I can be real petty. And they kept trying. And I was just like, nobody in chat knew that anything was going on, right? Because as soon as the messages were coming in, they were getting deleted. And so like my mods were like kind of informing them like, hey, like this is kind of what's going on. And because I can't drink, I had my sparkling cider in a little champagne flute. And I'm just sipping with my pinky up. And I'm like, y'all are real bored. Here we are. I love those two bots in particular, Siri bot and Stop Hate and Harassment bot, because it went so well. So well.
That's great.
That's awesome. So what more do you think Twitch could be doing to help curb harassment on the platform?
There's a lot, but I know because we're dealing with corporations, it is a multifaceted beast, and a lot of it is trickle down. I know we're not going to get everything we want, right? But what we need is to have those gates put up upon entry, so that way, at least, well, things that are on a deeper level that have nothing to do with the creator are getting fixed. We have the ability to make sure that our chats, our communities, our mods, ourselves are in a safer and more protected place. So the follow gate would be awesome. The raid gate would be awesome. I think personally, it would behoove them to have some sort of forum for people who are willing to moderate for other people. Because a lot of smaller streamers are getting hit with these things, and they have nothing, no one. I think that is a really good proactive measure, so that way you're at least getting people into these chats.
Twitter, when Twitter does their live video function, or at least they used to do this, they would do like community moderation, where every so often it would just pop up like a message and say, does this look right to you? And then you could say, no, that's a terrible message, or yeah, send it through. And I think that something similar could work really well for Twitch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that different from how Automod does it?
Well, yeah, Automod only shows it to the moderators and the creator. Twitter's version shows it to everybody, so it's just like purely community moderation.
Like a democratic moderation itself. That's fascinating.
The other thing that I think would be really great, and actually we saw a little bit of this today. It's public. Twitch taking a formal legal stance against people who are abusing their platform in ways like creating bots and doing hate raids. Like Twitch taking a very formal, very litigious stance against people like this is huge, right? I mean, it sets a precedent that Twitch is willing to go to bat, at least in a legal way for their creators, and I think it's a good step. It shows that Twitch is committed to at least recognizing that this is a huge problem and taking steps towards fixing it. So yeah. I'm really pleased with the way that that this seems to be shaking out on Twitch's side, and I'm really anxious to see what's going to come next.
I think that one's symbolically powerful too. I know that's something that stands out to me, that even if there isn't some massive practical effect that comes out of that, Twitch is doing something actively, like putting it on the line to try and get something done. That symbolically is pretty powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like the assessment that it sounded like both of y'all were making, and something that we discussed earlier, that the proactive tools are something that we're really looking for right now rather than reactive tools. And that would be at least in part on the side of Twitch as a platform itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I will say this about the lawsuit. I am thrilled, because there was a bunch of people who doubted the movement, and, not to brag, but us little guys, we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We did that. Okay. And that, I think that's important. And that in and of itself is powerful, because if you have enough voices who are really putting forth the energy to fight for something, it can happen. I also think, from a logical standpoint, now that we are here with the litigation, these people can no longer remain anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is major for so many different people, because I know so many people who are going through, litigation on a personal level for all of this. And they should, because this was and continues to be outside of the realm of trolling, right? This is dangerous for so many people. So the fact that, the curtains are starting to really get pulled back is a massive win for so many people.
Yeah,
absolutely. When I saw that article that just came out about Twitch suing like two of the most prominent hate raiders on the platform, that like Hunter said, that is action. Like that is actual action. That shows that, Twitch is not just gonna roll over here, and that there are serious consequences to this fun little game of like, spewing harassment and hateful messages across the platform. Like, yeah, now you're going to see the real consequences to your actions. And
yes, very real.
Like this is not a game. And the turmoil that you have caused to so many creators, like it's finally coming back at you. Hopefully justice is served,
Yeah, I agree. And I
think
that
it acts as a deterrent, I think.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's important to take this for what it is. Because I have seen people start to really read into it. And I understand there's a lot of people coming from a place of hurt, and that is totally valid. But we also need to take this as a win, because it is. Obviously, there's not anybody in the situation that is going to be fully 100% happy. Because especially when you are submerged in it, because there is a lot of hurt behind that, right? Like, I can't say that sitting here, I haven't been hurting, specifically more in the last couple weeks or so, but it is action, and it is a cultivation of hard work everywhere. Like, we all had a massive part to play in this. And I think, now's the time to have our cake and eat it too. I hate that saying, but we should be happy with this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one question in this topic that I want to ask before we move on to sponsorships is, if someone were starting to stream today, what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to help them and their community feel safe and vibrant and feel confident on the platform?
Have a document in a separate Discord or wherever you stage, your moderation stuff from. First of all, have moderators, have a bunch of moderators, have a document, okay, that's basically just a very, hey, welcome to moderating my stream. These are the really basic like Twitch / commands that you need to know in case, something happens and you want to exercise your sweet new powers, like /ban or /timeout for a certain amount of minutes or /whatever, like all the /user, so you can bring up the user card. Like all of the really cool Twitch commands have a document that's just very basic and easy to read and quick, and just something that you can give to your mods so that, they know how to mod, and make sure that you tell them how you want to keep your chat. And I know it's hard when you're like just starting out and you don't have like a ton of people, who can do this for you, but find a friend, have somebody, who's there, even just casually, so that if something goes wrong during your stream, that they can help you.
I feel like writing out a document, in addition to the technical tools and features, something that at least provides a conceptual basis for the kind of community you want to build, the sorts of things that are unacceptable to see in the chat,
Definitely.
That sort of stuff helps you as well as the streamer to kind of keep in mind that this person is overstepping a boundary, and as opposed to the tendency that a lot of us had starting out of going like, wow, I really want to keep every viewer that I possibly can, and so I think like writing it out can be very, very helpful for our own attitudes if we were starting out streaming right now.
And that's actually a really good thing. Don't be afraid of banning people. Ban people, ban anybody, ban anyone. Don't fall into this trap that's
100%.
like, oh, I don't know, if I ban somebody, maybe I won't get, just ban them. Just ban them. It's lay it on heavy, because it's gonna if you don't exercise that thought and that process right now, it's going to be harder down the line when, something happens and you're like, I don't know, should I ban them? Just ban them.
Yeah. Don't feel like you have to sacrifice your happiness or the vibe of the stream just to
You don't
keep
owe
one
anybody
viewer around.
anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bam.
So my piece of advice is going to be personal. Like, and I wish somebody told me this. You know who you are, and nobody can take that from you. You know who you are, and nobody can take that from you because people want to. And that's a lot of the reasoning behind, you know, people calling you out in your name and saying this, that, and the other. If you really are happy with the person you are, and sometimes you're not, and that's cool, you can work on it. But if you know deep down that you're a good person, that this is what you want to do, nobody can take that away from you, ever. Ever. And as soon as you realize that, you will go so much further than you ever thought.
I love that. That is super solid advice.
I want to clap, but I'm afraid of my mic peaking. That's very good.
Snaps. How about some snaps? Is that okay? So let's talk briefly about sponsorships because it's a very interesting subject to talk about sponsorships as it's changed from back then versus now. Because back in the day, you know, you had to convince companies what your value was as a creator, what streaming was, why should they pay you to play their game. So in you know, your guys' experience, how has paid sponsorships evolved over time since you started compared to now?
Well, if I can just say really quickly that I think there really should only ever be paid sponsorships. If you're being sponsored by somebody and they're trying to do it for free, they're just getting free labor out of you. Yeah. Don't do that. So this new kind of concept of everybody just doing paid sponsorships, like, of course, when I go to do, you know, a sponsored game, my audience wants to play it. Like they're gonna buy it, and so you have to recognize that every streamer, not just big streamers, but like every streamer, anybody who has anybody watching them on Twitch has an immense sway over purchasing decisions for their chat, for their community. So it's not a thing you can really take lightly, but you can. It's definitely a major source of value that you have to companies. Don't let any company try to make you feel worthless by giving you, you know, by saying, oh, we'll give you a key and then, you know, just go to town with the key, right? Like, make sure that you're being paid for your work. Every streamer has value. Even small streamers have value. Recognize that you have value and don't let anybody try to tell you you're worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish you would have told me that like a year and a half ago.
Well, that's the great thing that we're doing right here, right? We're
not me
somebody.
Outing myself. I agree with that. And I think sponsorships for me have changed because there's a lot more eyes on impact. I think if you are genuine about who you are, companies are more willing to work with you. I know now, like, I didn't even have a marketing deck before like October of last year, right? Like, that's the thing. And you are never too small to have one, because basically what it does is shows, you know, what your metrics are. You can keep copies of them so you can see how far you grow. It tells people a lot about who you are. You can brag about your accomplishments, and bragging is not a bad thing in this industry. You need to be able to sell yourself. And I think a lot of companies now are realizing that even though, you know, somebody may not have 200,000 concurrent viewers, they have viewers who are allowing themselves to be influenced by you. And so I will say, for me personally, it's been a little bit easier as of late for me to acquire some form of sponsorship, just because, you know, I have the marketing deck. I can, you know, talk to these people in a way that is professional, which is very important. You can't just say, hey, yo, what up? I want free stuff. It don't work that way. But make sure that you can talk about what you offer. And, you know, explain what you expect in return.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you bring up a great point here because, you're saying, I think right now it's getting easier for me. I'm getting more offers coming in, but it doesn't sound like it's just because your viewership has increased. And it feels like it's because you know what you're doing, you know what to ask for, you know how to show your value.
Refined your behind the scenes sort of stuff.
Exactly. It's that is going to be, for me, what I think one of the biggest, indicators of whether you're going to be able to secure a sponsor or not. You really have to, and that kind of goes back to knowing who you are. Once you are comfortable with who you are, you can sell yourself.
Yeah.
And you can do so in a way that is confident without sounding cocky because you know what you bring to the table. For me, I know what I bring to the table. I'm not afraid to eat alone. Been there.
It's accuracy versus arrogance, right? It's
exactly.
Like, here's my actual value as opposed to, well, I think I'm, the hot stuff. It's like,
You're
no,
not
here's where I'm
anything.
actually good. Here's here, look, here's my deck, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important. And I think people, especially who are trying to work with sponsorships, they need to understand that you have to have impact on your sponsor for them to want to work with you.
That's a great little soundbite.
Yeah. Nikatine, how has acquiring sponsorships gone for you as of late? And like, what do you think has contributed to that change compared to, maybe a couple of years ago?
Well, I think that a lot of bigger companies are starting to have a little bit of a pivot moment where they're realizing that, there are queer dollars and minority dollars to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of companies that are shifting their public-facing, outward-facing faces towards a more diverse outlook. And I think that's great. I think any company would do well to have like outward-facing, like diverse voices that are singing their praises or being sponsored by them.
Oh yeah.
And obviously it's wonderful to employ minorities for this. So it's a great shift, and I'm very excited to see, what the next few years are going to look like, because I think we're seeing a big change towards the uplifting and empowering of minority voices. I think for my personal self, I've seen a lot of outreach done from companies to me, as a trans Latinx person. It's very empowering for me, but it's also really interesting to see this big shift and how it's changed sort of in the last year or two.
It's fascinating too, on the side of like the practical kind of corporate side of diversity. There's real value in moving outside of that, cut and dry. Everybody's fighting for the same marketing block
Right.
because that's what it's always been. You're one of a billion companies shooting for that space. Why not go into this other space where not a lot of people are hanging, not a lot of companies are hanging out?
I've given a lot of talks to companies, specifically to companies. And the things that I've said to companies have always been things like, in the past, they've always been things like, look, trans people and queer people, we don't have like a lot of cheerleaders, like there's not a ton of companies that are like, super supportive of trans people. You have an opportunity, to be somebody, a company that looks like they're going to go out on a line for us. So you have a company that can be the company that trans and queer people can look to and say like, wow, maybe, they actually do care a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to see this big shift start to happen. Like companies really are starting to make that effort, and it's actually even better than all of this is the fact that so many of these same companies are putting into actualizing policies that are very preferential to minority health and minorities, like lots of Fortune 500s are doing things like adding trans healthcare and queer people healthcare and benefits and stuff. So it's like they're actually sort of walking the walk sometimes, which is awesome. It's been a great shift all around.
It's really nice to see. It really is so nice to see. And I will say too, like, yes, shoot for the stars. Like, I know everybody wants to work with Logitech or Coursera or, whatever, but there's a lot of like companies that aren't well known that will align with your values a lot better. And I think it is important to be equally as picky on your potential sponsors as they are of you. You don't want to align yourself with somebody who doesn't stand for what you stand for.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is a direct reflection of you, just like your community is a direct reflection of you. Like, you have to understand that the vibes that you're putting out there, you have to be consistent on. So don't count out the little guy. Like, a couple of my sponsors are, people or companies that aren't super well known, and I have a fantastic working relationship with them.
Probably feels significantly better to have that personal relationship with somebody who's sponsoring you or that you're otherwise working with. And when it comes to, oftentimes, definitely not universally, but a lot of bigger companies, they're more diplomatic with public statements as opposed to being very forcefully for or against something. Smaller companies have the tendency to be like, no, these are our values and we're going to be outspoken about this. Right. And working with them and having that alignment of my values to your values allows you to go, hey, look at this new, project that they're working on. Look at this like really clear and definitive statement that this company that I'm working with has made, as opposed to the tendency for a lot of us is to maybe be a little quiet when we're working with a bigger company who steps out of line just a little bit. I don't want to live that life and I don't want to run that business. It sounds way better to have that kind of setup that you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's like a big changing shift with consumers and companies is like, we are holding companies accountable. We want companies to be vocal about these issues, about these inequalities that are happening. And that's where we're going to put our money. So I think the big changing shift over the last year or two is that companies are being more outward about this, because if they're not, then, we're going to call them out on this, on these things,
You're going to hear from us.
Exactly.
I will write a strongly worded tweet and add a hashtag. Don't you test me.
Yep.
All right. So we only have a few minutes left. So I want to end on talking about the future. So, we talked about sponsorships, we talked about community, we talked about safety on Twitch. What are some things that you are most hopeful about going forward for Twitch?
Well, I think, like we've said, Twitch has been taking some steps towards mitigating hate on their platform. I think all of this has raised a lot of awareness, and I feel like it's lit a little bit of fire at Twitch. And I think the next 6 months to a year, next couple of years maybe, are going to be very interesting as far as the tools and things that Twitch is going to come out with. I have a lot of hope for this platform. It's my home, so I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. I think we've started to see a little bit of that shift with the introduction of many more tags, and I think we're seeing through to the end. Like, I think we're going to see some really cool moderation tools come out soon.
I'm excited to see all the growth, like, everywhere, right? Like, not just even me personally, because I'm excited to grow. I think it would be remiss of me to say that I wasn't, but I'm excited to actually see voices who felt like they didn't have a place start to thrive. I think that is probably going to be one of the more beautiful aspects of these next couple of years. And I think that just being able to really like see the shift in gaming and the culture of gaming as a whole is really empowering. Because we are at a point where we are saying no more. Mm-hmm. And the energy this time around, and I know that sounds so selfish, but it hits different, because this is a movement of so many voices. And all of them are, being vulnerable enough to share their hurts, their fears, their goals, and it's just really amazing to see. So I'm looking forward to seeing, a lot more marginalized people in higher positions. I'm hoping that the top 10 streamers are no longer just cis white men.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, some of the most viewed on Twitch are not like cookie cutter types of themselves. Like I am really excited to see more inclusion and more diversity.
Yeah. And more authenticity,
Yes.
like you mentioned, like at the top, So Nikatine, Raven, thank you both so much for joining us today. This has been a fantastic panel.
Really
we got
has.
really into it with a lot of really important topics. And, I'm excited to see next year, if we come back for this panel, what it looks like. What are we going to say? What are we going to say that's changed from then and now? So, let's do some shout outs before we take off for the day. Raven, starting with you, tell us who you are and where we can find you.
Well, I'm Raven. I am your chaotic good heathen. You can find me in the underworld, aka twitch.tv/RekItRaven. You can find me being slightly petty on Twitter at RekItRaven. You can also find me on TikTok. It's at RekIt.Raven. Don't want to talk about it. Not a long story, just an embarrassing one. And that's about it.
Awesome. Nikatine, how about you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikatine. I am a Twitch ambassador and a role player. I stream every day at twitch.tv/Nikatine. That's Nikatine. I do a lot of GTA roleplay, Red Dead roleplay lately, and tabletop roleplay too. I'm on Twitter at Nikatine Prime, and I'm got a Discord, discord.gg/Nikatine. And if you're trans and you want to hang out with other cool trans people, head over to Transmission Gaming. It's transmissiongaming.org.
Awesome. And Hunter.
I am HunterWild, aka TheHunterWild. In case there was any speculation that maybe there's another one out there, it's two regular words smushed together is my real name. I don't know. Parents are curious things. You can find me on twitch.tv/TheHunterWild, where I stream launch events, brand new games that are launching. Virtually every major title that comes out is something that I'm putting tons of time into the moment it happens. We have deep conversations, we play with a purpose, and go pretty hard. I work with Lowco on Streamer Square and a number of our big and beautiful and bold projects. Lowco, who is right here. Lowco, tell us about yourself for an outro.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hunter. I'm Lowco, Lowco, and you can find me on Twitch and Twitter, mostly talking about streaming, the industry, tips, news, and all that good stuff. So definitely give me a follow if you enjoy talking and learning about streaming. We own Streamer Square, and this is one of the shows that we've been putting on, for a while, and we just love talking about this stuff. So definitely check out Streamer Square if you want to learn more about streaming. And big thanks to the GameHERs for putting on the show, bringing us on for this panel. It's been fantastic. And make sure to go to thegamehers.com if you would like to vote for the GameHER Awards 2021 that is going on right now. So make sure to check that out. Thank you all for watching, and have a great rest of your day.